Hello everyone, it's CreativeNameToStandOut again with another battle report. This time it's going to be the Khorne Bloodbound, my blood slaves, versus a Duardin force. We're going to be playing the scenario Reclaim the Fallen. You probably remember this if you've been watching the other videos from a tournament that I held. It was scenario number 2. If not, and you're interested in the gritty details of the scenario, you can find this in the Khorne Bloodbound Battle Tome, so just check that out. Otherwise, a brief overview of the scenario will be as follows. We have 3 tokens. They're going to be on the board. Each represents the general, where he's fallen. Each time I get one of my units within 3 inches of one of those tokens, we're going to roll a dice. On a 1 through 4, it's a false position. We're going to remove the token. On a 5 or 6, I found the general. That's the real objective. If I get to 2 of them and they're both wrong and there's only 1 left, well, guess what? That 3rd one is the general. At the end of the game, we roll a dice, and on a 6, I win the game as the attacker. However, I can improve my odds by having more models within range of the token than my opponent. For every model that I have more than my opponent, I get to add 1 to the dice roll. So if I get at least 6 more models within range of the token than my opponent has there, I will automatically win. Anything else, it's up to a dice roll. So that's the scenario. Let's go ahead and jump into deployment. Alright, so starting on the left flank, we have the gyrocopter. Then we have a cannon with a cogsmith but nearby. We then see on the right side of this picture Belagar the Thunderhammer or Iron Hammer, and then we have an Iron Smith. In the center, we have a giant gaggle of Duardin. Here on the right front, we have his regular warriors. Then up in center, we have his long beards, and then off to the back, we have his thunderers, and that pretty much takes care of all the Duardin. And we'll move on to my side. So on the right flank, kind of parallel, but definitely on the right flank of this gaggle of Duardin, we have my Wrath of Khorne Bloodthirster. Then up front a little bit, we have 5 blood warriors. Nothing special about them. They just have the gore fist and an axe. Then we look at my lines directly across from the main battle lines of everything else the Duardin have. And we have my 5, let me think, Skull Reapers. Forgive me, when it comes to Khorne, we all know that their names are exactly the same. They just rearrange angry, wrath, blood, skull, you know the drill. So it's hard to keep track of all the names. We also have a giant unit of 10 blood warriors. And then we have a blood secretor, my aspiring deathbringer, and Fatty McFatFat, otherwise known as the blood stoker. Now, when it came to setup, we didn't have alternating deployments. Instead, the Duardin sets up everything first. I then set up everything I have in reaction to where he placed everything, and therefore the Duardin get the first turn. So the first thing he does is fly this gyrocopter to the left side of the board, his right flank, and directly in front of this gyrocopter, kind of off screen, is the first objective. We move on to the center, and the gaggle of Duardin is turned into a more coherent battle line. You can see the second objective there between the warriors, and then the third objective is in the corner of this building that you see on the left side of the screen. So not much going on for the Duardin. They're just getting into defensive positions, and we jump into my turn. So in my turn, I'm moving forward, not running. I don't want to be too aggressive and leave myself out to some opportunistic charges for the Duardin. Instead, I want to kind of set myself up in case I get a double turn. Now, my game plan here, if we remember, there's only 1 in 3 chance that the first objective I get to will be the real objective. So I want to bet against myself in a regard, and just kind of suicide my Skull Reapers into the most heavily defended objective. Hopefully I'll get within 3 inches, I'll roll a dice, and it'll be a 1 through 4, and I won't have to worry about taking the heavily defended objective away from my opponent, because it won't be the real one. In the meantime, I'm going to kind of inch my blood warriors, the 10 of them, to the leftmost objective that's very, very not defended. It only has the helicopter over there, and hopefully I'll just eliminate the first one, and then I'll have to make another decision. Do I want to bet in my favor and go ahead and reveal that leftmost objective, or do I want to try to get to the corner of that building and bet against myself and reveal that one, and hopefully it's a 1 through 4 there, also leaving only the best, most convenient objective in the hands of my blood warriors, and then my opponent will quickly have to go from defense to offense. So that's the game plan. We'll see how it works. Let's see if I get the next turn. Sweet. So I do get the second turn, and I know what I'm doing still, so I move up these Blood Warriors only 4 inches away from the token. That way I don't have to roll to reveal it, because I don't want to test for this yet. And then I go ahead and move my Skull Reapers up, and I have them whipped by the Blood Stoker, so they should easily get into combat because they get a +3 to whatever I roll. Now, as far as my right flank is concerned, I go ahead and start moving them forward also. I try to shoot with the Wrath of Bloodthirster, little chain weapon there, but of course I miss. I usually miss with that thing. I don't think I'm in range to spit fire on anyone, so I'm really just getting closer for later turns. I do have to be wary of that cannon though, but yeah, I have to move forward at some point. I need to put the pressure here on the right side. That way, maybe I can distract him and not have to, if it ends up being that leftmost warrior unit has the real token, he will hopefully be tied up with threats on the right that he'll run out of time really by turn 5 to respond to my warriors that are guarding that last objective. So right away I charge my Skull Reapers into the warriors as planned, do a lot of damage, and I end up rolling for that token, and thankfully I was right. I do not roll it up as a 5 or 6, so I can go ahead and take that off the board. So that's not the real objective. My game plan worked here, and we're going to go into the next turn, which is the Duardin. So in the Duardin movement phase, we have his hammers make way to help support these last warriors, and then the Longbeards decide that they are going to try to secure that center token. In the shooting phase, the Gyrocopter opens fire on the Blood Warriors and manages to kill one of them, and then the cannon takes 2 shots at the Bloodthirster. I thought this was going to really hurt. He hits and wounds twice, and then I roll out double 6s. So I got really lucky there. Should have took a heap load of damage, but I walk away unscathed. Now we have the hammers charge into this combat with the Skull Reapers and the Warriors, and I really thought I was going to lose everybody here also. I did take a beating, but I was able to kill off a few hammers and warriors, and I'm still left with 2 of my Skull Reapers. So pretty lucky there also, I suppose. So we go for the next turn, rolling it off, and I win it. So I get to avoid another round of shooting, thankfully. So I start moving my Khorne Warriors, or the Blood Warriors I mean, and the Bloodthirster into better positions. I again probably have a shooting phase and probably miss horribly, and I decide also that this is the time I need to make sure, or I need to test for that leftmost token. So I'm going to bet in favor of myself. I think at this time I'm going to roll a 5 or 6. I move up, and unfortunately it's not to be. So now we both know that the center objective is where the Fallen King lies. So looking at the other parts of the board, we have my Fatty McFat whip the Aspiring Deathbringer, and I love overestimating the power of the Aspiring Deathbringer, and I just have him lone rush these Longbeards. I think it's the pose. The pose makes me think he's going to kill a bunch of people, and it never works out that way. Meanwhile, the Blood Warriors charge the hammers on the hill, and the Bloodthirster throws his weight in there also. So when it comes to combat, I start off with the Bloodthirster. He does a number on the hammers. He'll select some Duardin in that combat next to kind of hopefully finish off. I think the Skull Reapers is his aim, but it just doesn't pan out in that way for him. He does get to strike first against my Aspiring Deathbringer. He does a couple of healthy wounds to him, and I, of course, I was lucky if I killed 2 of his guys. If that, I may have only killed 1, maybe even none. I think he gets rerolls to armor saves. So that's how the combat ends there. I am pretty satisfied. The right side Duardin, as you can see, I think are all mopped up, unless there's one guy hidden over there. And now I just need to focus on these Longbeards, but I have to also be aware of that cannon and those 2 characters over there on the other side of the building. So here we have an overview of the board as we go into Duardin turn 3, and he's not going to have a lot of movement here. He's going to move his characters on the far side of the wall up towards those Blood Warriors, and he's going to jump in the shooting phase with the cannon. So the cannon takes aim at the Bloodthirster, and here are my armor saves. That's just gross and unfair. I know, it's so bad. He just wasn't having luck with that cannon too early here. We go into combat. He has Belagar and the Ironsmith tag team these Blood Warriors, and we jump into combat. So the first thing he does is do the Longbeards versus the Aspiring Deathbringer. Again, healthy amount of wounds. He's still alive with 1 wound left. And then we move over to the combat with the Blood Warriors, and he kind of fluffs it, not able to do too many wounds. Lucky for him, though, he is a tank, and I don't do too many wounds back, if any at all. So that's how the board looks like as we end Duardin turn 3. And oh man, poor Duardin. The Blood Slaves steal yet another initiative roll off, so I'm getting the go ahead here in turn 4. And I'm going to have my Blood Warriors move up to support that Aspiring Deathbringer who bit off way more than he can chew. And I'm going to have the Bloodthirster break off and handle that cannon. I've gotten lucky here 2 turns in a row. I am not going to press that. I'm going to try to kill that before it actually hits its mark. And we'll see how it goes. So when we go into combat, I go ahead and charge the Blood Warriors into the unit that's attacking my Aspiring Deathbringer. I've activated my command ability that says every unit within 6 inches, that's Khorne of course, gets plus an additional attack. I have also slammed the Bloodsucker's banner into the ground, giving everybody within 16 inches another additional attack. So I am generating a ton of attacks into that Longbeard combat. And that is exactly where I start. So I devastate that unit. He moves on to attack with his characters first when it comes time to him to choose. Doesn't do too well on his part. I return back with the Aspiring Deathbringer and kill off a couple more of the Longbeards. At the end of the day, the Aspiring Deathbringer does not make it, but I do so many wounds. There's only 1 Longbeard left. Now, when we look at the Wrath of Khorne, Bloodthirster, I really thought he had this, but as you can see, not much has left the table. He's not able to dig out the cannon or the engineer or the crew, so they're left there pretty well in a good place to shoot once again. We return to the combat with the Blood Warriors and the 2 characters. Now, unfortunately for him, these Blood Warriors are nasty on defense also. For every save I make on a 6, after I make a save, I can roll another dice, and then on a 6, I inflict a mortal wound. And then, of course, if he kills anybody, they get to attack once again. And with all that, I was able to kill off the Iron Priest. So all the combats are really not turning in his favor. Well, maybe the cannon, but that's not going to be lasting too much longer. So that's how it looks at the end of my turn, and we'll see what the Duardin have next. We go into the Duardin shooting phase, and the cannon finally connects, doing a healthy amount of wounds with 7 on the Bloodthirster. In the combat phase, we are able to kill off that lone survivor with the combined help of the remaining Skull Reapers and those Blood Warriors. In the combat phase, the Wrath of Khorne Bloodthirster realizes he needs to do something quick and is able to kill off the Cogsmith. Probably should have aimed for that cannon though. And in the other combat with Belegar and those warriors, he surprisingly opens up a can of, well, you know what, and kills off so many of the Blood Warriors. So that guy's a one-man army. It just took him a little bit to get in the motion of things, I suppose. That's going to lead us into the next turn, where the Blood Slaves win the initiative roll-off once again. I'm incredibly lucky. But I'll use it and abuse it if you let me. So I'm going to take the initiative here, and the game plan is really the special character is the biggest problem for me. If he kills himself out of combat here, he can get over to the second objective, charge in, and maybe cause me an issue. Right now, as long as I play some good defense, I should have enough guys to not even have to worry about the roll. I should have way more than I need to have the win automatically. However, if he gets me down to only 5 guys or 6 guys and a contested model jumps in there, I'm going to have to do a roll-off, and I could lose on a 1 still. So that's my game plan, is just to stay alive, so we'll see if I can do that. This turn, not a lot is happening. I send Fatty McFat in there to delay the special character. We do some combats, and unfortunately for him, I think Belegar dies this turn. But despite Belegar falling, my opponent is not sweating whatsoever. He has a plan, a trick up his sleeve, if you will. He's going to fly this gyrocopter over to the window. He's going to ignore the Bloodthirster and shoot the cannon into whatever units are near the token. He's also going to shoot his gun from the gyrocopter into the unit, and he manages to do enough wounds that I might actually lose this game. I think I have to roll a 1, but he made it where it wasn't a foregone conclusion. So we roll it up, and I roll a 3. So it was good on him. He had a last gasp there. Could have pulled out a win, but I managed to roll a 3. So the Pirate Legion walks away with a great win. It was a very fun game. I enjoyed it a lot. I really enjoyed the scenario, but I think we're gonna branch away to some other scenarios. I think I played this quite a few times already now in the last couple battle reports. It's time to try some new stuff. So again, I hope you enjoyed this battle report. I appreciate everybody's likes and comments. Of course, subscribe if you'd like. And hey, thank you for watching, and I'll try to get another one out next week.